kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there...
Hello, Danny.
They come back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Film Seizure at the Movies. I'm Geoff Arbuckle, and right now I am joined by...
Jason Oliver.
And Chuck Moore.
Yes.
So we are coming together to talk about Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining.
Yes.
And before we get to that, because we might touch upon some spoilers, I don't know. I don't think we necessarily have to, but just in case we do, wanted to let everybody know where they can find the Film Seizures. You can go to filmseizure.com on Wednesdays to listen to Jason and I, sometimes Chuck, talk about an older movie. You can also find Monster Mondays on Monday. There is we have channels on the Apple Podcast, on Google Play Podcast, on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher.
You better check the magnet.
What?
You got them all?
Yeah, I got them all. I think I got them all. And then, so that's where you can find stuff like that. I think probably we'll talk like we did with Terminator Dark Fate. We'll probably talk more generally before if we want to get into spoilers, we can do that a little bit later. Towards the end of this, but
yeah, I think there's opportunity to talk about spoilers here because this is a weird sequel in a lot of ways, and I don't think it's really possible to talk fully about the weirdness of it without getting into some spoiler aspects.
What about your spoiler-free, just general thoughts?
Let's start there.
Yeah. Are you asking me?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. Kick off.
I thought this movie was perfectly fine. I liked it. It's not like the masterpiece of Kubrick's The Shining or anything. It's probably not as artful as that movie is, or as meticulous, which kind of just would be obvious going in. You're not going to get a Kubrick film in this. I think those are big shoes to fill, right? And you're not going to get the big dynamic performance like you got from Jack Nicholson in this either. Although I think that not Ethan Hawke, Jesus Christ, Ewan McGregor was just fine. I thought
you want to call him Ewan McDonald.
Ewan McDonald. But yeah, I liked this movie. I had a really good time with it. It's so packed full of Easter eggs, which I'm really excited to talk about. But general impression, I really enjoyed it. It actually still managed to shock me in places, even though I'm very, very familiar with the book and obviously the both versions of The Shining, the movie and the book. There were moments of I thought probably true terror and horror in this that we haven't seen in a while in a Stephen King horror film.
Right. And some were director's choices expanding on stuff from Dr. Sleep that wasn't as elaborate, but
Chuck, what was because obviously you guys are Stephen King readers. I don't read no books. I don't need no books. But
you don't word read well.
I know.
I liked it. I struggled with some of it, as we'll probably get into later. But overall, even as a standalone horror film, I enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna say basically that I'm gonna mirror that. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was.
There were certainly times where I was like, "Man, I'm digging the hell out of what's going on here," and there were certainly times where I was like, but I liked it more than any of the other Stephen King adaptations. We were just talking about that before we started recording. Liked it a lot more than It Chapter 2. A lot more than It Chapter 2.
Oh, yes.
More than Pet Sematary. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly a lot less boring than In the Tall Grass.
Yes.
Interestingly, I don't remember the run time on It Chapter 2, but it was somewhere close to 2 hours and 30 minutes.
It was like 2:45 or 2:47, something like that.
It was
the
up there.
run time of this film, and this went by
This was like a little over 2 hours, right?
2.5. It was
2.5
2.5 hours.
It was
See,
2:32.
it,
Yeah.
it ran by way quicker
it
than
definitely felt long in places. Like it felt like a longer movie, but it definitely moved faster than It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that
It didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
Right.
No,
sure
it didn't
shit
feel
did
like
not.
that. It felt like a 2-hour movie with
Yeah.
some long
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah. And then there was one of my big. I'll go ahead and give you guys my biggest, one of my two major critiques of this. I felt the all of the buildup getting to the Overlook for the final climax was great. The climax felt like it was 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that didn't take much to get rid of.
Wow, that's interesting considering like it was the exact opposite.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Not to keep
Yeah.
bringing it up, but that's interesting.
Right. No, but I mean, yeah, no, that's like, yeah, all of it was like, okay, you've got me, movie. I'm ready for the next 20 minutes to be, Rebecca Ferguson having to deal with the hotel too.
Right.
And she got to one room.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That
a little bit of a spoiler.
That was
Sorry, guys.
it's kind of weird. Like I said, this is a weird sequel, right? Because this is a sequel to the Kubrick's version of The Shining, and it's also an adaptation of Stephen King's book Dr. Sleep, which is a sequel to his novel The Shining,
which ends completely different.
It's a completely different ending. The book and the movie of The Shining, and also the book and the movie of Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, it's like a stitched together version of both.
It's a little bit of a Frankenstein. From
I
what
can't
I'm saying,
think of any other situation that we've seen a movie like this where it's cobbled together. It's script from two different source materials that are also intrinsically linked in this way.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it works.
It works.
Yeah.
I have no idea how. But it did. It absolutely did work.
Yeah, and without giving away the
excuse me, the ghost.
Nah, no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. I mean, they somewhat appeased King with the ending because it was very similar to the actual ending of the book, The Shining.
Yeah, but and this is where I want to get into spoilers maybe in a minute, but if I were King, I would still be disappointed in this.
Probably.
And there's one major reason why, and his name is Jack Torrance.
Yeah.
It did nothing to give redemption to Jack.
And that's a huge part, and that bothered me a lot.
And I thought we would get it. I really did. But we didn't. And I
Right.
think that was a strange choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
One of the things, there were two things that I really, I guess technically there are four things that I can individually point to, the things that I really, really liked in the movie. One, I really liked Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I thought I had no problem believing that he was Danny grown up.
Yep.
I really liked Kaylee, what's her name, that played Abra.
Oh, interesting. I didn't like her.
You didn't like her?
No. I thought she was the weakest actor in the film.
Huh. Maybe what I liked was how she was basically like a kid just saying.
I like her character. I did not
Yes.
like her performance.
Maybe that's what I'm more wrapped up in.
Yeah.
was her character. I don't know. Someday I'll see this movie again, and maybe I'll have a different opinion of.
I was
the
surprised. I was
actress, but I liked
surprised.
her character.
I was surprised how poor a performance she gave, because Mike Flanagan has worked with children a lot in his body of work, and they are usually pretty good. I mean, I don't know if either of you saw The Haunting of Hill House. He worked with a lot of kids in that, and they all gave amazing performances. And she did not.
Okay.
Yeah, in my opinion.
And I liked Rebecca Ferguson as kind of the main big bad. I thought she was really compelling.
She was
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah,
I thought she was great.
She's a compelling actress in general. Everything
really
I've ever
is.
seen her in,
She is kind of hot. Just want to throw that out there.
okay.
Yeah.
Then the other guy I was going to bring up was Cliff Curtis. So you
Yes.
have these Cliff Curtis. He was just. He's just one of those. He's the guy that you want your hero to be with,
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that those four characters, at the very least, I thought really was. I mean, I was really into it.
Yeah.
with that. Now I will say there were a group of characters I didn't care much for, and that was the rest of the Shining vampires.
The true not.
Yeah, I didn't know much about them. I didn't really care about them, other than they're the bad guys and they are mean.
Yeah,
they were weak, I thought, because there were 3 of them you don't know nothing about. 3 of them that the actors don't even have a fucking picture on IMDb, and it's like, oh, that was Arsenic Henry, or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
it's like
no, that's a valid criticism for sure. They're fleshed out more in the book. You get
Obviously,
more.
'cause you probably get like
You get more.
40,000
You get
pages.
more of a sense of that. Like there are a lot of them, right? And they're like sort of in these interconnected clans, if you
Yeah.
will, right? So you get definitely more of a sense that they are really plugged into politics and
Yeah,
and
'cause
this
they
and this
only kinda
bigger
throw
this
that
this
line
bigger
out.
political. I mean, they don't go into that, but they give you that idea. Like, look, we're everywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
but in this, it's just like, oh, we should call the cops, and
Yeah.
Danny's
It's
like,
kind of a
well, they're not
throwaway.
worried about it.
It's kind of a throwaway,
Okay, how do
yeah.
you know that, Danny? I've not seen you do much of any kind of research on these people.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
He's
the-
yeah.
Well,
he's-
he knows things. I mean, that's kind of his thing.
yeah. Fair enough.
My biggest complaint with the True Knot was, they're really fucking easy to kill.
They
Yeah.
really were.
Right.
They really were. You just trick them.
Right. But
And-
not even that. It's like, okay, this is a bit spoilery, but there's a scene where one of them is thrown out of the van, out of the front windshield of the van.
That's cool.
And
scene.
it is a cool scene, and it's all cool except for one thing. Danny talks about the arrogance of them, and like, oh yeah, for someone who thinks they're immortal, you wouldn't wear your seatbelt, right?
Right.
Well, if getting thrown out of the front windshield of a car in a car accident could actually kill you, wouldn't you wear your seatbelt?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's I think it just plays to their arrogance.
But
yeah.
they die like any else of us. I mean, if they have a traumatic injury, they're
Yeah.
gonna die.
Well, I think
That's pretty similar to any human being.
right.
it's kind of
I thought that was a big fuck up.
yeah. They're kind of, well, you said weak earlier, but they just in general they are weaker as a clan right now because they haven't
Yeah.
been feeding a lot. So I think some of the things that were injuring them may have come as a surprise.
As a surprise, that's fair.
It wasn't explained. It's just kind of the way I took it.
But him of them all was the one like we need to feed, right?
Right,
Crow Daddy
yeah.
should have been the one of all of them that was the one that was overly cautious, and he wasn't. So
he
Right.
was
like-
great in the book too. I
Yeah.
was looking for a little more
yeah,
from him, like even almost up to the level of Rose, the hat in the book.
yeah.
They concentrated everything on her basically in this movie, which I guess maybe is a good choice.
Yeah,
if you have a
I
2.5
think so.
hour movie, give it to the one main bad guy. But
yeah, this movie does its own thing, right? That's what I liked about the book, and a lot of people didn't like about the book. Is like, what is this with these vampires and this and that,
So
right?
that's my other larger critique, that I just don't think I like Stephen King's larger ideas, because it's like, as much as there were a lot of other things that I felt like were appropriate for a sequel to The Shining, as I know The Shining, not, but like there was this other larger idea that's like, this isn't really doing much for me. I mean, aside from Rose the Hat, I didn't care about the rest of those characters. I would have liked if it was just Rose the Hat hunting down, and she's kind of like has all of the other people's powers instead of just having a whole group of people, like
Yeah.
having one big boogeyman instead of a bunch of stock boogeymen. I guess that's my main critique.
I like the idea though of this roving band of vampire gypsies, right? Who have this. They all kind of participate in some way. Which, yes, you're right. They didn't really delve much into the movie, but they start the movie by recruiting, which I think is cool.
Right.
It's like we haven't had a pusher in a long time. A person who can make people do things with their mind, right? Which, she was great.
Yeah.
That actress, she was in The Babysitter, right?
Yep.
She's fuck.
She's a great.
She
she's
was
a great
really
actor.
good.
oh, that is the girl from the okay.
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
I recognized.
She's a neighbor
her, but-
girl, yeah.
yeah.
She was great. That I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really chilling scene with her. towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the ambush scene.
Yeah.
Like that was one that shook me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we get into spoilers or should we not?
We can talk a little bit about spoil. I think we all basically agree that the movie has some definite strengths and a couple of large. I don't want to call them failings because I think each people is going to find their own their own take on it. I mean, you guys read the books. I mean, it would be like saying, it'd be like going to an X-Men or an Avengers movie and saying, why did that character show up? Well, we would know.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of us would know more about that than others would care. I'm kind of in that boat where I'm kind of outside of that. So
I thought they honestly did an okay job of explaining the True Knot, even having known who they are.
Yeah.
Like I got it just from. Actually, I felt a little hit over the head with it personally, but probably because I knew who they were.
Yeah.
Like, hey, these people eat your steam. They eat the shine. That's their thing.
Yeah.
And it was said on multiple occasions.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we needed any more about them, but I do agree with Geoff. It would have been nice to maybe develop some of those other characters instead of just having them stand in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you think that they were almost kind of Sleepwalker-like characters?
I mean,
from the movie Sleepwalker?
Yeah, well, they weren't given anything to do other than to eat steam. Yeah.
Right, like suck it out of your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the incomparable, like I'll always fuck up his name, but Carol Strucken.
Crow Daddy.
No.
The
tall man.
He was grandpa or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a giant in Twin Peaks.
Right.
He has a line that I swear to God cannot be a mistake, or not that it would be a mistake, but it has to be very intentional. When Crow Daddy asks him how he's feeling, and he says peachy keen. That's such a David Lynch thing,
Right.
Like that is
Right.
that had to have been like just a little tip of the hat,
A little nod.
Yep. But he was also in Gerald's Game.
Okay.
He was the Moonlight Man in Gerald's Game, which was also directed by Mike Flanagan.
Okay.
And then you had the other little cameo by Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, that was okay. So
But
what
he-
happened to his character?
Well, he was in Gerald's Game. So it was just kind of like, we need somebody for
but-
this, and we're gonna put this
I'm
guy
just
in.
talking about that character though. That character was there
Well,
one scene, and the next scene he's just gone.
He was there to get Danny the job at the hospice in my favorite scene in the whole movie.
That looked just like the beginning
Yep.
of The Shining. Yeah, the interview. Yeah,
The interview.
I picked that up too.
Yeah.
So that guy, that doctor in the book, for some context, is also Abra's pediatrician.
Yes.
So there's a
yes.
larger
There's a
role
connection
for him
there.
in the
Okay.
book. They rolled a lot into Billy as a character because Dan actually helps protect Abra at one point in the book. There is another sponsor that isn't even mentioned.
Yeah.
I think his name was Dan or something. I can't remember. But that was rolled into Billy too. So Billy got a lot.
Okay.
His name's Billy, right?
I think it was Billy.
yeah.
Oh, is
Whoever
buddy.
the guy that works
Cliff
at
Curtis.
the train.
Yeah.
The tiny town.
That too. That to me is like my favorite Stephen King stuff. Is a person who is sort of broken, looking for a new start, moving to a new place, settling into a small town, meeting with town people, finding these bigger connections in a smaller world. Right. I mean, he does it in so many of his books.
Right.
And I love it. It just feels quintessential King to me.
Well, and there were a lot of those little things, and I think that's why I liked Ewan McGregor and Cliff Curtis.
They were
Curtis
so good
much,
together.
because it's like this is just a guy who sees somebody's down on his luck.
Yep.
And I'll give you a chance. And
But
they
he's got a
kinda
little bit- he's got a little bit of the shine,
He's got
yeah.
a little bit of a shine.
Yep.
Which you could say, well, that's just strong intuition, or that he's.
But that is the
but
shine.
It's, is
Right.
shining.
Yeah.
It's
They can literally eat anybody if they want.
Like a lot of people have a little bit of it and they don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
But that-
because that's one line that Ewan McGregor says at one point. It's like I've only known a couple of people who knew that they had.
Right. Right.
Speaking of your small town thing, like what I love about it most, a lot of people say, King, the master of horror, whatever. Really, in my opinion, his best strength is dialogue.
Absolutely. His characters.
Yeah, his characters, his dialogue. That's why it's so hard to make movies from his stuff, because he's so good at telling you how people feel internally that you cannot show on screen.
That was one thing. There was a line, and when the last time that Dick Halloran comes back, and now we're kind of in spoilers here.
Yeah.
But he's talking about, because we see a flashback in which Halloran is teaching Danny how to lock away the ghosts that keep following him from the Overlook.
Yeah.
And the last time you see him talking to Danny is in the present, and he's like, asking him about like the various ghosts that he's seen. And there's a particular line that Ewan McGregor says that feels like it's a written line, not like from a book, not from like a screenplay or from an actor's point of. But he's going on about how that last person he locked up is like, oh, he asked me about having a great party or something, and he had that shit-eating grin on. It's like that feels like a novel line, not like not a movie line,
Right.
Because it goes into too much detail,
Right.
And it's stuff like that was like, oh man, this is like a kind of a fleshed out character,
Right.
How about that?
to go along with that, the Dick Halloran character, can I say how much I have just absolutely fucking appreciated the fact that they recast actors in those roles?
And also didn't try to impersonate them,
Right, and also didn't try to use any stupid de-aging or CGI to make them look. I was so happy because it just gives you that sense of, yeah, I get it. These are the same people. They look kind of like them. I can now move on and just watch the scene.
Right. The
right?
Halloran guy kind of had some expressions that were very close.
He was crazy good.
Yeah.
And I thought Alexandra Esso, I called her a sexy upgrade to
she looked a
to
lot
Danny's
like her.
mom.
Like it was so believable.
She looked great. Yeah. In fact, even down to the scene where they recreated her cowering in the corner with the knife.
Yeah, that was really.
Oh man, it was perfect. Yeah.
Agreed.
You guys know who played Jack Nicholson though, right?
Who was that?
Henry Thomas.
That was Henry Thomas? No way.
Yep.
Give me some details on Henry Thomas.
E.T.
Oh,
Elliot.
holy crap.
Well, he's also a Mike Flanagan guy. He was in The Haunting of Hill House.
Interesting.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
Interesting.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I appreciate they didn't do an impersonation.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, what was the biggest concern about those Star Trek restarts, right? Well, were people just going to be doing impersonations?
Right, yeah.
And they didn't really. I mean, Carl Urban just is DeForest Kelly.
Well, he's perfect. Yeah.
but all the other characters were not impersonated.
Yeah.
Right.
And that allows people just to get into the movie and
Yeah.
get into what's being shown to you.
While Henry Thomas did a good job, and this might be spoilery, once we saw him in the bar, I knew the ending that I wanted wasn't
Me too.
gonna happen.
Me too.
And I was a little disappointed.
I absolutely was, but I was like, okay, that's not going to happen. If that's not going to happen, if we're going to do a true sequel to Kubrick's The Shining, he abso-fucking-lutely would be Lloyd the bartender.
Yes,
right,
100%.
So I was like, all right,
and pretend he's not.
Yep.
You know, a lot of that was really good. There was just
Yeah.
the back of my
and
mind
that scene
disappointment.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The
they had
whole
Danny
talk
do a
about
lot of the
medicine.
things that Jack could not do, which was so great about it. That was almost his redemption.
Yeah.
Like this is total spoilery for the book. Jack comes back and basically saves Danny.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, in a manner of speaking.
But he also essentially saved Danny at the end of The Shining, the book as well. Mm-hmm. You know, he
At the last moment, he does. Yes.
Yeah, he dies in the boiler explosion.
Yeah.
In the end of The Shining book. Yeah. Yeah. There is a touching moment when Danny is celebrating his 8 years of sober.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he talks about his dad. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, that was. I mean, and that was a good script and actor moment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was good. Again, I mean, Ewan McGregor I believed it. Like,
Yeah.
I believe that he was Danny.
There was a weird way that Flanagan shot him too, that he had these glimmers of Jack Nicholson also, like in profile and in close up, like
Especially in that
the way
scene
he
in
would
the bar.
turn. Yeah,
I was like, he looks a little like Jack
his
right
his,
now.
his
It's
sort of
weird.
his body language.
Yeah.
Like, God, I want to call him Ethan Hawke again. Ewan McGregor, his body language was so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
He really actually mimicked Wendy. What's her name?
Oh, yeah.
the mom.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall, thank you. He mimicked her a
Am
little
I going to
bit.
have to edit in a whole bunch of, hi, I'm Shelley Duvall?
Oh no, please don't.
Okay.
he mimicked her quite a bit as well. I really liked the scene on the stairs where he's backing up with the axe.
Oh, yeah,
and,
looked
and
just
Rose
like
the
her.
Hat is coming up the stairs. I mean, that is Jack and Wendy. Like just really cool little details that you can't get from the novel, right?
Right.
Well, and stuff that they don't make a point to do. Like,
Right.
how many sequels would have shown you a flash of
Right.
the past and now the present? Ugh. It's like just tell us the fucking story you want us to know.
Yeah, right.
I almost wanted Danny to like kind of give a little half swing of the
Oh,
axe.
just to try to back her up.
Yeah,
the
ju-
little
like
half-hearted
Wendy
kinda-
did. Yeah.
It was interesting. Flanagan made really good choices in this film as to what he would take from King and what he would take from Kubrick.
Yeah.
He knew the moments that people were going to recognize from the movie are far greater to the general public, right, than the King book, which I thought was done really well. Like, spoilery as well. I guess we're in spoiler territory now.
I guess, yeah.
When he goes to the old room and you see the axe hole through the door, and he looks in, like, he looks in, and then they show his mom cowering. They're kind of splitting back and forth because he's remembering kind of what happened there. He looks like Jack looking through the door.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah.
And it also plays a little bit with the idea that, much like Kubrick's Shining, that and I don't know if this was part of the book too, but the fact that he's never left. He's always been there.
Right.
The whole idea that Jack was always there, and
Right.
They kind of little subconsciously play with that, where it's like he comes in and the house reacts to him, and it's like, yeah, he's home.
Right.
And the way this ends, of course, that's kind of the way it ends, even though I did not overly love it, but I understand it.
Well, I think the way that the hotel preyed on her is the way they've always preyed on the True Knot has always preyed on any of their captives that they catch. It's very like, this is what they do. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, it wouldn't be a
they're like
drawn out
wolves.
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
They caught her and she's gone. I really like that part of it, I think.
I just wish that there would have been I loved how slow they took it when he's walking through. But then the moment she came in, it's like race to the finish.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, did you guys run out of money?
There was
It's
a
like, what's going on here?
there was
Right?
a
It's like
little-
Warner
I-
Brothers has got
There was a
pockets
little
full
bit
of
of cat
money,
and
right?
mouse in the maze because we got to put the maze in,
That
was,
kind of was
which was
okay.
a little, it was
it was
okay.
It did deliver the idea that maybe Abra's not as pure as we're led to believe.
What she even says, you've got
a little
You
bit
got
a little bit of dark. You've got
darkness.
exactly.
And I felt that actually that whole movie, speaking of her performance, she was a little too cocky throughout the movie for me.
I
But
took that as being a kid going up against.
She was it was a little more old soulish evil to me, the way she played it off. But when Rose the Hat said that, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. We're dealing with the idea that everybody has light and dark inside of them.
Yeah.
And Abra, thankfully, falls, at least at the end of this movie, on the light side. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a few chill moments. I'm not gonna lie, when they're going up to the overlook and you get that like low moving sort of helicopter shot through the river valley.
Yeah.
it almost looks like they're going up the road in the beginning of the
Well,
Shining,
it's
right?
the exact same shot.
Yeah.
It's just at night instead of day.
It's just at night, and then it comes up, and it's the
I
music. The
expected-
music is blown in, and then the camera, the helicopter comes up, and you see the car, and the
underneath,
car goes
going
through the
through,
tunnel. I mean,
yeah.
it's the same shot. And it just
I started to expect, like, there were a couple of times, like when the elevator opened, I thought it's like, oh, it's gonna come up and say a Stanley Kubrick film.
Yeah, right.
Like scroll up like the trailer did or whatever. But
I didn't like the elevator bleeding and her smirk about it. I thought, what do we need this for?
that
You
was
could
a
have
little-
understood that she would like this place just by who she is.
Yeah,
They didn't
Well,
need to,
yeah.
right? She's like, okay, this is my kind of place.
yeah.
My kind of place.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna get a
die.
beer here.
Or it was almost like, oh, this is what the best this place has got. This isn't all that scary.
Is that the way you read it? I didn't
Kind
read it that
of.
way.
I
I
don't
read it
know.
as
I
like
thought she felt comfortable there.
Yes,
Interesting. All
That's
right.
that's what I felt from it as well.
Because that's why, because like she's kind of going through and taking it in, like she's doing
Yeah.
her hand thing, she's kind of breathing it in. She's almost trying to feed off of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And that's why I think she's such an easy get at the end of the film, because she thinks she's the one in power,
Right.
when in reality it's the hotel.
She's
Yeah.
arrogant.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, yeah, there's a huge arrogance from all of the villains. Like even the arrogance of the new recruit,
Yeah.
Snakebite.
Yeah,
Snakebite
Andy.
Andy, yeah,
Yeah.
Andy.
Snakebite Andy.
Where like she is doing stuff with reckless abandon.
Right.
Yeah.
In the book,
I mean, like before they recruited her, and of course, still after that, she's still, she's even more cruel. Really.
that was one kind of failing in the movie for me. Even though the actress was great, she in the book you felt bad for her.
Yes.
When she gets
Yeah.
taken in the movie, you're like, she belongs with these people.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
it's-
like tense moment
that
there.
was my. I just don't feel like I don't need every villain to be redeemable.
Right.
But if you're going to spend a lot of time with villains, a group of villains, I don't want to spend an entire time with a group of people that I despise. It's like maybe that's a little bit of my real life, sitting in a movie watching a movie with
Right.
people I don't like. It's like I want the fuck out of here. I want to
Right.
go back to the people I like.
Right.
And so that's, I think, maybe where my biggest kind of like what kind of made my skin crawl about those characters in a not good way. And it's just like, these are just people I don't want to be around. I just want to go back to, the Ewan McGregor and Cliff Curtis characters. Like every time they would come up, it's like, if Rose isn't doing something that I care about, I just want to get back to the other.
It's
Yeah.
a very new thing, like with King over the last 10 to 15 years, I'd say, is he spends a lot of time writing the villains.
Mm-hmm.
Like you spend in the books, you spend a lot of times with them, and like none of them are redeemable usually.
Yeah.
So like, for example, Mr. Mercedes, like that,
Sure.
whatever his name,
Brady.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a total asshole, but you spend a ton
Yeah.
of the book with him,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
learning about his motivations and stuff like that.
Could that be growth from him in the sense that he's always been kind of sometimes his bullies are so cartoonish or something, they're very paper thin that you think he's trying to like spend
Maybe.
more time?
Maybe he might. That might be
could
it.
very well be.
I like the more mysterious aspect of villains usually, where you don't know what the evil is that's chasing you. This movie does a great job, obviously, of outlining this is who's bad here.
Yeah, watch them.
But I don't always love that.
watch
in
them
movies.
torture and kill this child.
Yeah.
Well, that scene. Okay,
That's-
so this is weird.
That was-
because I don't
that's
know
a-
if this
That's
is
a hard scene.
Yep.
I don't know if this has ever happened in the history of film with a King adaptation, is that a scene in the movie is actually worse than the book, because
Yeah.
that kid in the book, he gets killed in less than a page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie, it's like 6 minutes, and
You're
it was
practically-
torturous.
you're practically
it was
that
torturous
kid.
for me.
It
I
was
felt
hard.
terrible.
Yeah.
that whole
It
scene.
was horrific, but it was like, all right, this movie's got
It's got
Got a
balls.
little bit of balls.
Yeah.
yeah.
Little bite, little balls.
Yeah.
Little bitey balls.
That
Bitey
was
balls.
Jacob Tremblay, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Room.
He's supposed to
Movie
be a
Room.
really great kid actor, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
he was excellent in that Tommy Wiseau movie.
Oh, hi, baseball kid.
hi,
which, by the way-
Oh, hi, 19. Hey, 19.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I caught that. I was like, ha.
Yep.
Nobody else appreciated that
Yep.
in the theater.
So many little things like that in this movie. I enjoyed it.
What else? What else you guys got? I do have a story for after the movie that I'm going to tell before we round this out. But what else you guys got about the movie?
Any other Easter eggs we missed?
You noticed the house number for Abra?
1980.
1980.
Yeah, Susan caught that. I did not catch
It
that.
was right on the. It was on the.
I did you notice the first room that Danny goes into when he helps the older person pass on? It was 217.
Yes.
Which
Which
was
was that was the original number
in the hotel, it's
for the hotel.
237.
Right.
Right?
Well, yeah,
they
and
changed
they
it.
changed it to 237 in the movie because the hotel
Did
did
not
not want to have an actual hotel room that they had a number for
Right.
portrayed that way.
Right.
So
Well,
they
they were
had
also-
it. They had a room 217. Or like,
Right.
no, change the number.
Right.
Yeah.
But they also were concerned about people just constantly asking for
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. But yeah, that was 217 was the old man.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
So that was a little Easter egg.
I loved all of those scenes where he's helping people pass on. Those were really sweet.
Yes.
I really liked that.
Yes.
So the movie
Yes.
had a lot of heart too. Bitey balls and heart.
Yeah.
Yep.
The of course he makes the Dick Halloran's his cause wheel, which I always love. It always
That
gives
was
me
great. I was
always gives
trying
me
to-
a little like warm blankety things. I feel when we talk about
Yes,
Ka.
we're connecting the universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess one thing we should say: where does the name of the book and the movie come from? Dr. Sleep is what Danny is called because when he gets to that town and he gets kind of back on his feet with the help of the Cliff Curtis character and everything, he gets a job helping people calmly pass away.
Well, that's not his job, but that's just what he ends up
Well,
doing.
that's what he's an orderly, but
Yeah.
but he gets that nickname because people and
he soothes
follows
people as they're dying.
right, and he
basically.
follows a cat that has a sixth sense of who's going
a
to
cat
pass
that
away.
has the shine, man. That
Yep.
cat.
That
has
cat
the
is
shine.
shining.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then no, that's not really an Easter egg, but I always get also a little excited when somebody talks about the stand or people who stand, and that's what Danny says at the end. It's like,
Right.
you know, let your shine on, or let keep shining on. You know, you're one of those people who stands.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
was like
because
that.
she said, "Do you wonder if they really are more of them out there?" And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Nah, just keep doing what you're going to do.
Yeah.
If they find you, you're going to stand against them."
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think about that change? That because Danny lives
in the book.
in the book.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a big
super
spoiler.
duper spoiler. But
Yeah. Hopefully you've checked out if you haven't seen this.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we said
We
we're
did.
doing
I
We
know.
said
I
spoilers.
Yeah, we did. We did. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's cool. Keep going.
Well, I was going to ask what you thought about that change, having him become basically the Dick Halloran,
A Force Ghost.
to Abra.
I would have preferred that he lived, I think.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't think there was really a reason for him to die.
Right.
There wasn't a,
I didn't like that he got possessed and he basically
I didn't like that
lost to
either.
the hotel that
I didn't
he-
like that either.
he beat.
Yeah.
I thought, well, if she saved him and he was still possessed, but he walked out of it, or whatever, that's
Right.
fine. Whatever. That's cool. But I didn't love the fact that he essentially lost to the very thing he kind of helped defeat when he was a kid. And it's kind of like, well,
Yeah.
Did he, though? I don't think he really defeated the hotel when he was a kid, honestly.
but he was, I mean,
He escaped it.
He escaped
escaped
it, but he.
it always
he-
had power over him. It still had power over him. I didn't
But
like
he
the scene. I
did-
agree with you. I didn't like him being possessed. But I never felt in The Shining, the book, or ever, that he was greater than the hotel
Well,
or defeated it.
he eventually did, though. I mean, what I like when he was locking the ghost
Sure.
away.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
he
That,
was
that I
defeating
get.
it at that point.
Yeah, it was like Scooby Doo and
Yeah.
1001 Ghosts or whatever.
It was easier for him when they were. Yeah. Or he's a
This is
Ghostbuster.
just like Scooby Doo.
It's just
He's
like
a
Scooby Doo.
Ghostbuster.
Scooby Doo and 101 Ghosts or whatever that show was, or they had to catch all the ghosts.
Yeah.
They got to catch them all. It was Pokemon before Pokemon.
Yeah. All right. No, I mean, it's fine though.
I
mean,
will be happy to watch this in tandem with Kubrick's The Shining. I will put them next to each other on my shelf. I really, really aesthetically was pleased
Yeah.
by what Flanagan did with this. I wasn't sure I would like it. I thought I might, go all Kubrick snobby on it, but I'm not going to be that guy because I really think that
Well-
you cannot replicate the masterpiece that is The Shining, but you can pay respect and homage to it.
And they did it very well.
Yes.
well,
I agree.
And,
I agree.
And this has been done before. There's one other Kubrick film that's been sequelized, and that was 2010.
Oh, sure, yeah,
So 2001, 2010, and I mean Peter Hyams did just fine.
absolutely,
just fine.
It's
So
a totally,
Mike
it's a
Flanagan did
totally
just
different,
fine.
it's totally different animal too. Yeah,
and it's just fine.
Yep.
So no, I'm not going to get snobby about
No.
my favorite director and favorite actor.
Right.
And anyway, but
I thought you were going to talk about that Full Metal Jacket sequel. I'm kidding. There's no Full Metal Jacket
Wow, that'd
sequel.
be
Yeah.
awesome.
Where
Sweeney.
where Vincent D'Onofrio comes back as a force.
Yeah,
ghost.
that's what I was going to say. His name was Sweeney, right?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, so that was I was
And Matthew Modine's got to come back and like catch his ghost.
put it in the box in the
Lock it in
jungle.
a box in the jungle.
In the bathroom.
Yeah,
about
that was a
spoilers.
good movie. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I was
It was,
thinking
it was like
about the
1.5
fact that
metal jackets.
This is Doctor Sleep is what Stephen King's Star Wars would be,
yeah,
kind of.
Kind
You
of.
got-
Okay.
You got your Force Ghosts, you got your group of bad guys, you got your good guys, and they're
and you've got Henry Thomas.
What?
Steve, you said Steven Spielberg, right?
Stephen King's. Stephen King's.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Steven Spielberg.
You're breaking my brain
I'm
twice now in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for. Yeah.
He's a brain breaker. He's a breaker.
Anyway,
Nice. Good job, Chuck.
so I think
That's our little Easter egg.
Yeah, I think we've kind of come to the end of this here. I'm going to tell a story about what happened right when I walked out of the theater.
Oh, okay.
So I believe either an older sibling or a mom took 3 teenage kids to see this movie. My assumption is that they've either watched The Shining as many times as we have our whole lives,
Or they've never seen it.
or they've never seen it and just read the Wikipedia article. Girl comes out ahead of me, goes to stand by, I'm thinking her brothers. And one boy says to girl, "So what'd you think?" Girl says, "I thought it was stupid." Boy says in return, "I didn't know it was going to be almost 3 hours." And it's like,
We don't know.
well, we suck. Our world is going to be suck. Kids, sometimes movies run more than 2.5 hours. It's fine.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, you don't need jump scares
No.
to make a scary movie.
Yeah, this really didn't have any jump scares, did it?
Not really.
I'm so
They had
appreciative.
some quick edits that were.
I mean,
but-
the closest thing I think of is the flashback to Wendy cowering.
Yep, with the axe coming.
But
through.
man, I thought that was exactly what that scene needed. It just kind of it was like and you know what this is, but we're just gonna sear it back into your brain
Mhm.
Right.
because you're in a terrifying place.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, recommend.
Yeah.
100% recommend.
Recommend.
All right, so I don't know when the next time I'm going to do another one of these Film Seizure at the movies. I got a couple movies I'm going to in the next couple of weeks, but I don't know what. But I don't know. But I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna record anything for them. Wednesdays, Film Seizure on filmseizure.com, Apple Podcasts. Go back to the beginning of the episode. Hear all that shit.
Yep.
Monster Mondays, do that stuff. Do all that good stuff. Go back to the beginning of the episode. Listen to what we said about where you can find those. Anyway, yeah. So let's take us out, gentlemen.
All right. I'm Jason Oliver.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And I'm Geoff Arbuckle. Don't forget to save me the ILC.
And you will scream for years.
Come and play with us forever and ever.